Forgotten, The Frozen North, Chapter 14, Arrival. Sunny rolled over in her sleeping bag and finished waking up with a yawn and a stretch. She took a look around and saw that she was the last one to wake up. Izzy and Sprout were splitting a hot chocolate.
Morning, Sunny.
Izzy greeted as the Earth Mare pulled herself out of her sleeping bag.
Everyone else is outside. It's quite the sight.
Izzy got to her hooves and walked up to the front window.
Oh my stars,
Sunny said, her eyes widening as she made her way back to her equipment compartment to the driver's side door, opening it and climbing down into the snow, and simply stood next to the truck, staring dumbfounded at the gargantuan, twisting wall of wind and snow several miles ahead. It rose up to the clouds and blocked a portion of the Crystal Mountains.
I've never seen anything like this, and with any luck, that's right where we're headed, to see what's inside, Pipsqueaks.
She heard Pip narrate as she held her phone, recording the storm.
This is just about as close as I got with my aerial recon team,
Zip said as she walked up to Sunny's side.
We have no idea what it's like inside?
Sunny asked. Zip shook her head.
So, what's the plan?
Sunny asked, turning back to Hitch, who was currently refueling the truck. Well, Hitch began as he righted the fuel canister, twisting the cap back on as he dragged it back to the rear of the truck. I see two plans, and neither is completely 100% solid. Option 1. One of us, in full Cloud winter gear, camping supplies, and rations, waits outside the storm with an emergency beacon, in case something happens to the rest of us or the truck. Problem is, if something does happen, the pony waiting outside is largely left to the mercy of the elements until help can arrive. And there's no promises that they'd bring anything that can make it through the storm.
Alright, that one's pretty iffy. What's the other option?
Zip asked. Option 2 is we're all in the truck and we crank the heat to full, and hope nothing happens when we go past through the storm. We go in perfectly straight, so if we need to, we can hit reverse and get out. If we can't get out, there's no guarantee that those transponders will transmit through the storm all the way back to Zephyr Heights.
I'm a lot more comfortable with all of us in the same vehicle,
Sunny stated. Zip immediately agreed, as did Pip. I thought so too. If the worst happens and we don't get a signal out, we'll be together, we can share body heat, and that truck has enough ready-to-eat rations to last us weeks. More than long enough for someone at Zephyr Heights or Maritime Bay to figure out we should have been back by now. Hitch was absolutely right in that regard. Neither Queen Haven nor Phyllis was going to let more than a week pass by without word from them. Alright, I think we have a decision. Let's all get back inside and get ready to head in there, Hitch told them. One by one, they all got back into the Scouticus Maximus, where Izzy had warmed up 4 more cups of hot chocolate, which the pair of Pegasi and Earth ponies happily took to warm up, while Hitch made some last-minute adjustments, cranking the window defrosters to full and engaging the vehicle's all-wheel drive and differential. Alright, every pony, are we ready? Hitch asked. He got nods from each and every one. Sprout, you're up, he replied.
Me?
The Red Stallion asked. She's your vehicle. You know what to press and hit in emergencies quicker than we do, Hitch reasoned, motioning him to the driver's seat. Giving a smile of determination, Sprout got into the driver's seat. Sunny buckled into the passenger seat, and Pip risked standing in between them to give her phone camera a good view out of the windshield.
Alright, here we go,
Sprout announced, turning the wipers on and putting the truck into gear. It started forward, and Sunny's gaze went from the immense cyclone of white in front of them to the thermostat on the dashboard, which was currently reading -9 degrees Celsius. A couple of minutes later, the Crystal Mountains were obscured entirely due to their proximity to the storm. Ever so gently, Sprout opened the throttle more. -15 degrees Celsius. You're speeding up? Hitch asked, and Sprout nodded.
If the blowing snow accumulates too quickly on the windshield, it's gonna turn to slush and will quickly overwhelm the wipers. Better to try and get it through quickly and hope this wall isn't too thick.
Sunny glanced down at the industrial ice scraper mounted to the passenger side door, hoping they could make it through the blowing snow without having to get out and use that. -20 degrees Celsius. 30 seconds later, visibility was reduced to 0, and Sprout kept his speed steady, keeping his eyes peeled for any hazards on the field of snow.
What about headlights?
Zip asked, as the ambient lighting in the cab was reduced to the lack of sunlight.
That would make things twice as bad,
Sprout commented.
If you say so,
Zip replied. He's right, the lights would just shine off of the snow and fog, Hitch added. Luckily, the visibility was the only problem. The ride remained smooth for the next minute.
Whoa!
Sprout exclaimed, slowing down and veering to the right to avoid a very large crystal formation protruding from the snow. Well, there goes our straight path, Hitch remarked. Sprout slowed his speed to steer around 2 more blue and magenta crystals that jetted out of the fields of white. Getting out of here was not going to be easy if they had to swerve around obstacles, and would likely be very hard to do in reverse. Thankfully, after another 30 seconds, visibility started to clear up, and the thermostat began to slowly tick up. They had lost the sun, but as they started to come to the crest of the hill that they had been climbing, Sunny started to make out the other end of the storm, as well as the south face of the central crystal mountain range several miles away. "Alright, slow down and stop at the top, Sprout," Hitch told him. The stallion did so, and they surveyed the scene before them. It had the appearance of a snowy valley, a jarring change from the flat Arctic tundra that they had been driving over all of yesterday, and no doubt it was caused by the storm, putting the half-buried city into a giant wide bowl of snow. There in the middle was the tallest structure, half covered in snow and ice, and smaller crystal structures dotting the snowscape all around it, ranging from 1 to 3 stories tall. Seeing that the thermostat had risen again to -15 degrees Celsius, Sunny dug out a book containing the images of the memory gems. She opened it to the page she had bookmarked, confirming what waited for them down the snowdrifts.
We're here. The Crystal Empire.
Chapter 15. The Last Night. A long time ago. Concentrating carefully, Flurry gently returned the pane of glass to the top of her desk, sealing the piece of parchment inside, which would hopefully protect it from the elements for the foreseeable and perhaps unforeseeable future. With the Crystal Empire's population now down to 3, the weight on the Crystal Princess's shoulders was getting heavier. She looked out of her bedroom window at the darkened streets as the sun dipped below the horizon. The winds outside were only getting stronger and colder. No fireplaces or lamps lit the windows of the buildings below, and snow was even beginning to accumulate at the base of the crystal structures. The last train out full of Crystal Empire citizens left 2 hours ago, and save for Spike, Princess Luna, and herself, the city was completely empty. Even her crystal guards had departed, much to her captain's reluctance. Commanding her subjects to permanently abandon their homes along with everything that they had built here had absolutely been the hardest thing that she had ever done in her entire reign. She mentally kicked herself for longing for excitement for all those years. Every hoof step she made through the castle echoed off into the walls, and every room that she checked during her inspection was an exclamation to the fact that she had just ordered hundreds of ponies to abandon their lives and homes to head for an uncertain future down south. She had kept telling herself that having them remain here would have been certain death, and that she had chosen the best case scenario for them, but it still weighed heavy on her heart. Spike and Luna had been making preparations with the relics that had come up on the train, and for her part, Flurry had been reading up on Sunburst's research on the Crystal Heart. She was hoping that the knowledge would prove integral to whatever Luna's ritual was. The Princess of the Night had warned her against the route that she had chosen, so now she was beginning to worry about what would happen if things went smoothly, and worse, if things didn't go smoothly. For the last 6 hours, she had checked every single room in the castle, making sure it was empty. After checking on the last 2 other inhabitants of the Empire, Luna suggested to Flurry that she go get some rest, and that things would be ready soon. So here she sat, alone with her thoughts, wondering if this would be her last night in the Crystal Empire, in Equestria.
Would this work?
If it did work, would they have time to get down south? Would there be anything remaining of the Crystal Heart if it managed to generate these crystals that she had seen in her dreams? The more she thought about it, the more uncertain she became. If they failed, at the very least she gave the Empire's citizens a head start, even if it was prolonging the inevitable. At the end of all of her thoughts and fears, this had to work, or else everything was lost. Taking one last look at the parchment under the glass, she returned the quill to the inkwell that she had set on a side table. Then she got up from her seat and walked over to her bed. Slowly removing her crown and setting it gently on the nightstand, she climbed into bed and curled up underneath a wool comforter. She took another breath, and the emotions churning inside of her spilled over as tears ran down her cheeks as she softly whimpered, sinking her head into her pillow.
I wish you were here, Mom.
I am really curious as to whether or not Flurry Heart in this universe is alive somehow, like cryogenically frozen, or she's just dead. Though it seems we're gonna get our answer soon anyways. But let's get on to our amazing donators. Top donators are 630, J10Man, Darkside, Only One Thing, and Ceru Orion. Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Rolan, Stu Hex, Swordbrother and Mordred, Omicron, Lyrae, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Hadzaza, Riot Soul, Iron Sky, Badass Waffle, Shadow Moon, Luigi88, and many more beautiful people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.